My fiancée said I care more about my truck driver friend than her. She was right. My name is Alex, and I need to tell you about the night my whole relationship changed over a plate of homemade lasagna. But first, let me explain something about myself that my fiancée Emma just doesn't seem to get. Food is my love language, not the kind you read about in those relationship books, but the real, deep-down way I show people I care. When I'm standing in my kitchen at 6 in the morning, grinding spices and chopping vegetables, I'm not just making dinner. I'm creating something that says, "You matter to me," without ever having to speak the words. I'm 27 years old, and I've been cooking since I was 12. My grandmother taught me how to make her famous beef stew on a rainy Saturday afternoon, when my parents were going through their messy divorce. She told me that when the world feels broken, you can always fix it with good food and love. I've carried that lesson with me ever since. Emma, my fiancée of 8 months, has never understood this part of me. She's a creature of habit who eats the same turkey sandwich for lunch every day and considers cereal a perfectly acceptable dinner. When I cook for her, she picks at the food like she's searching for hidden vegetables to avoid. She'll eat maybe 3 bites and then push the plate away, saying she's full. "It's too spicy," she'll say about my mild chicken curry. "Too rich," she'll complain about my mac and cheese. "Too fancy," she'll mutter about literally anything that requires more than 5 ingredients, but my friend Tyler gets it. Tyler is a 34-year-old truck driver who spends weeks at a time crossing the country, living on gas station coffee and drive-through burgers. When he comes home to our small town, he's like a lost soul looking for comfort. And that's where I come in. The first time I cooked for Tyler was 2 years ago. He had just gotten back from a particularly rough 3-week haul, and he looked exhausted. His dark hair was greasy, his eyes were bloodshot, and he had that hollow look that comes from too many lonely nights in truck stop parking lots. I invited him over for dinner without thinking twice. I made him a simple meal grilled steak with garlic mashed potatoes and green beans. But when he took that first bite, his whole face changed. His shoulders relaxed, his eyes closed for just a moment, and when he opened them again, they were actually shining. "Man, Alex," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I forgot what real food tastes like." That's when I knew I had found my purpose. Tyler wasn't just eating my food, he was receiving love through it. He was finding home in every bite, and I was finding joy in giving him that gift. From that night forward, whenever Tyler came back from the road, I would spend days planning his meals. I would research new recipes, shop for the best ingredients, and prepare elaborate dinners that would make him feel human again. It became our tradition. He would text me when he was 2 hours out, and I would have a feast waiting for him. Tyler would always joke about it. "I'm coming home to my wife," he'd tell his trucker buddies over the radio. "Alex takes better care of me than any woman ever has." It was just harmless fun between friends, but it filled my heart with pride. I was making a difference in someone's life, one meal at a time. Emma never said anything about it at first. She would disappear to her bedroom when Tyler came over, claiming she had work to do or shows to catch up on. I thought she was just being polite, giving us space to catch up. I had no idea she was building up resentment with every meal I prepared. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening in March. Tyler had been gone for 3 weeks this time, hauling furniture from North Carolina to California and back. He had texted me that morning saying he would be home by dinner time, and I had spent the entire day preparing his favorite meal, homemade lasagna with garlic bread and a fresh Caesar salad. I was in the kitchen, layering the pasta with meat sauce and 3 different kinds of cheese, when Emma walked in from work. She was wearing her usual professional outfit, a navy blue blazer and matching skirt that made her look older than her 27 years. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and she had that stressed expression she always wore after dealing with difficult clients. "What's all this?" she asked, gesturing at the chaos in the kitchen. There were dirty bowls everywhere, flour on the counter, and the smell of simmering sauce filled the air. "Tyler's coming home tonight," I said, sliding the lasagna into the oven. "I'm making his favorite dinner." Emma's face went dark. "His favorite dinner? Since when do you memorize other people's favorite foods?" I was confused by her tone. Since I care about my friend, Emma, he's been eating truck stop food for 3 weeks. I want to make him something special. Special. She repeated the word like it tasted bad in her mouth. Alex, do you realize that you've never made me lasagna? Not once in 3 years of dating, but you'll spend an entire day making it for Tyler. The accusation hit me like a slap. You don't like lasagna, Emma. You told me cheese makes you feel sick. That's not the point. She snapped. The point is that you go above and beyond for him in ways you never do for me. You plan elaborate meals, you shop for special ingredients, you spend hours in the kitchen. When's the last time you did that for me? I opened my mouth to defend myself, but she wasn't finished. And another thing, this whole wife joke needs to stop. It's inappropriate, Alex. You're engaged to me, not him. But the way you two act, anyone watching would think you're the married couple. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly, like the walls were closing in on us. Emma's words hung in the air between us, sharp and cutting. I could feel my chest tightening as I tried to process what she had just said. Emma, you're being ridiculous, I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I could hear how defensive I sounded. Tyler is my friend. I cook for him because I enjoy it and because he appreciates it. There's nothing inappropriate about that. Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. Nothing inappropriate? Alex, you talk about him more than you talk about me. You get this look in your eyes when you're cooking for him like you're doing something sacred. You've never looked at me that way. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but something in her voice made me pause. Was there truth in what she was saying? I thought back to the conversations we'd had over the past few months. How often had I mentioned Tyler? How much time had I spent planning his meals versus thinking about what Emma might want for dinner? I cook for you too, I said weakly. No, you don't. Emma's voice was quiet now, but somehow that made it more painful. You make food and you put it in front of me. But you don't cook for me. You don't ask what I want. You don't plan special meals. You don't spend hours in the grocery store looking for the perfect ingredients. You just make whatever you feel like making and expect me to eat it. The oven timer went off and I mechanically pulled the lasagna out, setting it on the cooling rack. The cheese was perfectly golden, bubbling around the edges just the way Tyler liked it. The sight of it should have filled me with satisfaction, but instead I felt a hollow ache in my stomach. I don't understand what you want from me, I said, leaning against the counter. I thought you didn't like my cooking. You barely eat anything I make. Emma's face softened slightly. I don't dislike your cooking, Alex. I dislike feeling like I'm not worth the effort. Do you know what it's like to watch your fiancé put more energy into feeding another person than he puts into your entire relationship? The words hit me harder than I expected. I looked at Emma, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't noticed before. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her hands were shaking slightly. She looked fragile in a way that was completely unlike her usual composed self. I never thought about it that way, I admitted. Of course you didn't, she said, and now there were tears in her eyes. You were too busy planning Tyler's next meal to notice that I've been trying to tell you how I feel for months. My phone buzzed, and I glanced down to see a text from Tyler. 20 minutes out. I can already smell something amazing from here. Emma saw me reading the message, and her face hardened again. Perfect timing, she said bitterly. Your real priority is about to arrive. Emma, that's not fair. Isn't it? She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Tell me something, Alex. When was the last time you planned a surprise for me? When was the last time you put thought into making me feel special? I opened my mouth to answer, but nothing came out. I couldn't remember the last time I had done something thoughtful for Emma that wasn't related to a holiday or birthday. I couldn't remember the last time I had asked her about her dreams, her fears, her hopes for our future together. I can see the answer on your face, Emma said quietly. You can't remember, can you? Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. Tyler's familiar voice called out, Honey, I'm home. The joke that had always made me smile now felt like a knife in my chest. I looked at Emma, who was staring at me with a mixture of pain and determination. I want you to make a choice, Alex, she said. Either you start treating me like I'm the most important person in your life, or I'm going to start questioning whether I should be in it at all. Tyler knocked again, louder this time. Alex, you in there, buddy? I looked at the perfect lasagna cooling on the counter, then at Emma's tear-streaked face. For the first time in our relationship, I was seeing her clearly. She wasn't being unreasonable or jealous. She was being honest about what she needed from me. "I have to answer the door," I said softly. Emma nodded. "I know you do. But while you're eating dinner with Tyler, I want you to think about what I said. Think about who you're really cooking for and why." She walked out of the kitchen, and I heard our bedroom door close with a quiet click. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the lasagna that had taken me all day to make. It looked perfect, but it felt like a symbol of everything I had been doing wrong. Tyler knocked a third time. "Alex, everything okay in there?" I took a deep breath and walked to the door. When I opened it, Tyler was standing there with his usual huge smile, a small duffel bag slung over his shoulder. He looked tired but happy, and when he saw me, he immediately pulled me into a bear hug. "Man, I missed you," he said. 3 weeks of gas station sandwiches had me dreaming about your cooking. Please tell me you made something amazing." I forced a smile. "Lasagna, your favorite?" Tyler's eyes lit up. "You're the best, Alex. Seriously, what would I do without you?" As I led him into the kitchen, I couldn't help but think about Emma's words. Tyler was grateful for my cooking, but Emma was grateful for nothing because I gave her nothing to be grateful for. I had been so focused on being the perfect friend that I had forgotten how to be a good partner. "This looks incredible," Tyler said, examining the lasagna. "You always know exactly what I need." I nodded and started cutting slices, but my heart wasn't in it anymore. All I could think about was the look on Emma's face when she asked me when I had last planned a surprise for her. All I could think about was how I had memorized Tyler's favorite foods, but couldn't remember the last time I had asked Emma what she wanted for dinner. As Tyler dug into his meal with obvious pleasure, I realized that Emma was right. I had been treating Tyler like he was the most important person in my life, while treating Emma like she was just someone who happened to live in my apartment. The question was, what was I going to do about it? The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Emma making coffee in the kitchen. She was always the first one up, getting ready for work while I stumbled around trying to find matching socks. But today felt different. There was a tension in the air that hadn't been there before, a heaviness that made even simple movements feel deliberate. I found her standing at the counter, fully dressed in her work clothes, sipping coffee from her favorite mug, the one with the little cartoon cat that I had bought her for her birthday last year. She looked up when I entered, and I could see that she had been crying again. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she looked like she hadn't slept much. "Good morning," I said carefully. "Morning," she replied, but her voice was flat and distant. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down at our small kitchen table. The silence stretched between us, filled with all the things we needed to say but didn't know how to start. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking, marking the seconds of our mutual discomfort. "How was dinner last night?" Emma asked finally, not looking at me. I thought about Tyler's enthusiastic praise for the lasagna, how he had eaten 3 large slices and spent 20 minutes telling me about his trip. I thought about how we had laughed and joked like always, but how I had been distracted the entire time, thinking about Emma alone in our bedroom. "It was fine," I said. "Emma, about what you said yesterday?" She held up a hand to stop me. "I've been thinking about it all night, Alex. I've been thinking about us, about what we're doing here." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" Emma set down her coffee mug and turned to face me fully. "I mean that I don't think you're in love with me anymore. Maybe you never were." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Emma, that's not true. I am in love with you. I want to marry you." "Do you?" she asked quietly. "Or do you just think you're supposed to want to marry me because we've been together for 3 years and it's what people expect?" I started to protest, but she continued before I could speak. "When you talk about Tyler, your whole face lights up. You get excited planning his meals. You spend hours thinking about what will make him happy. You remember details about his preferences, his stories, his feelings. When was the last time you asked me how I'm feeling about anything?" I opened my mouth to answer, but she was right. I couldn't remember the last time I had asked Emma about her day beyond the basic pleasantries. I couldn't remember the last time I had really listened to her talk about her work, her friends, her dreams. "I do care about your feelings," I said weakly. "You care about them when they're convenient for you," Emma replied. "You care about them when they don't interfere with what you want to do, but you don't seek them out. You don't make them a priority." She was right, and we both knew it. I had been coasting in our relationship, taking Emma for granted while pouring all my emotional energy into my friendship with Tyler. It wasn't intentional, but that didn't make it any less hurtful. "I want to change," I said. "I want to be better," Emma smiled sadly. "I know you do, but Alex, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about the cooking. The cooking is just a symptom of the real problem." "What's the real problem?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring down at her hands. When she looked up again, there were fresh tears in her eyes. "I don't think you see me as a whole person," she said. "I think you see me as a convenience, someone who shares your rent and your bed, but not your heart. I don't think you've ever been curious about who I really am." The accusation stung because it felt true. I tried to think of the last time I had asked Emma about her childhood, her fears, her dreams for the future. I tried to remember the last time I had really listened when she talked about her work, instead of just waiting for her to finish so I could talk about something else. "That's not fair," I said, but even as I spoke, I knew it was. "Isn't it?" Emma asked. "Tell me something about me that you learned in the past month, something real, not just that I don't like spicy food or that I prefer tea over coffee." I sat there, racking my brain, but I couldn't think of anything. In the past month, I had learned that Tyler was worried about his father's health, that he had been thinking about settling down somewhere permanent, that he was considering a career change. But I couldn't think of a single meaningful thing I had learned about Emma. "I can see the answer on your face," Emma said quietly. "You can't think of anything, can you?" I shook my head, feeling ashamed. "Do you know what I've been struggling with at work?" she asked. "Do you know that my boss has been making my life miserable for the past 2 months? Do you know that I've been considering looking for a new job?" I stared at her, shocked. "No, I didn't know any of that." "Do you know that I've been having panic attacks, that I've been lying awake at night worrying about our relationship, about whether we're making a mistake getting married?" Each revelation was like a punch to the gut. Emma had been suffering, and I had been completely oblivious. I had been so focused on Tyler's problems and needs that I had missed the fact that my own fiancé was struggling. "Emma, I'm so sorry," I said. "I had no idea." "I know you didn't," she replied. "And that's the problem. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't ask because you weren't really paying attention. You weren't paying attention because I'm not Tyler." The comparison was harsh but accurate. I had been giving Tyler the kind of attention and care that I should have been giving Emma. I had been treating Tyler like he was precious to me, while treating Emma like she was just there. "I want to fix this," I said desperately. "Tell me how to fix this." Emma stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the street below. "I don't know if you can fix it, Alex. I don't know if you want to fix it enough to actually change who you are." "I do want to change. I'll do whatever it takes." She turned back to me, and I could see the pain in her eyes. "Will you stop cooking for Tyler?" The question hung in the air between us. I wanted to say yes immediately, to tell her that of course I would stop, that she was more important than any friendship. But something in me hesitated, and Emma saw it. "You can't, can you?" she said softly. "Even now, even after everything I've told you, you can't imagine giving up that relationship." "It's not that simple," I said. "Tyler depends on me. He doesn't have anyone else." "And what about me?" Emma asked. "Who do I have? Who takes care of me the way you take care of Tyler?" I didn't have an answer for that, and my silence spoke volumes. Emma picked up her purse and headed for the door. "I'm going to stay at my sister's house for a few days," she said. "I need time to think about what I want." "Emma, please don't go. We can work this out." She paused at the door and looked back at me. "Maybe we can. But first, you need to decide what you actually want, Alex. Do you want to be Tyler's substitute wife, or do you want to be my husband? Because you can't be both." The door closed behind her with a soft click, and I was alone in the kitchen with my coffee and my thoughts. I looked around at the space where I had spent so many hours cooking for Tyler, and for the first time, I wondered if Emma was right. Maybe I had been playing house with the wrong person all along. 3 days passed without Emma, and they were the longest 3 days of my life. The apartment felt empty without her presence, without the sound of her morning routine or the way she hummed while doing dishes. I had never realized how much space she filled in my life until she was gone. I spent those days thinking about everything she had said. I replayed our conversations, examined my behavior, and tried to understand how I had gotten so off track. I also did something I had never done before I paid attention to how I felt about Tyler. When Tyler texted me on the second day asking if I wanted to grab lunch, I found myself analyzing my response. Why did I feel so excited about the prospect of cooking for him? Why did I immediately start planning what I would make? Was Emma right about the way I felt? I decided to be honest with myself, and the answer was uncomfortable. I did get a thrill from taking care of Tyler that I didn't get from my relationship with Emma. But it wasn't romantic, it was something else. It was the satisfaction of being needed, of being someone's hero, of being appreciated in a way that felt meaningful. With Emma, I had gotten lazy. I had stopped trying to impress her, stopped trying to make her happy, stopped trying to be the person she needed. I had taken her for granted because she was always there, always reliable, always willing to accept whatever scraps of attention I threw her way. But with Tyler, I was always performing. I was always trying to be the perfect friend, the perfect cook, the perfect caregiver. I was addicted to his gratitude, to his jokes about me being his wife, to the way he made me feel essential to his happiness. The realization was painful but necessary. I had been using Tyler to avoid the hard work of being a good partner to Emma. It was easier to cook elaborate meals for someone who would appreciate them unconditionally than to figure out what Emma actually needed from me. On the third day, I made a decision. I called Tyler and asked if he wanted to come over for dinner. When he arrived, I had prepared a simple meal, grilled chicken with rice and vegetables. Nothing fancy, nothing special. "This looks great," Tyler said, but I could hear the confusion in his voice. He was used to my elaborate productions, and this felt almost impersonal by comparison. "Tyler, I need to talk to you about something," I said as we sat down to eat. He looked up from his plate, concerned. "Everything okay, buddy?" "Emma and I are having some problems," I said carefully. "She's been feeling like I put more energy into our friendship than into our relationship." Tyler's face grew serious. "Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do to help?" "Actually, there is," I said. "I think I need to step back from some of the things I've been doing. The elaborate meals, the constant planning, I think it's become too much." Tyler was quiet for a moment, processing what I had said. "Are you saying you don't want to cook for me anymore?" "I'm saying I need to find a better balance," I replied. "I love being your friend, Tyler, but I think I've been using our friendship to avoid dealing with problems in my relationship." Tyler nodded slowly. "I get it, man, I really do, and honestly, I've been feeling a little weird about the whole thing, too." "What do you mean?" He put down his fork and looked at me directly. "Alex, you've been amazing to me." "More than amazing. But lately, I've been wondering if it's healthy for either of us. You spend so much time and energy taking care of me that I started to depend on it too much." I was surprised by his honesty. "I thought you enjoyed it." "I did enjoy it," Tyler said. "Maybe too much. I started looking forward to coming home to you more than I looked forward to anything else in my life, and that's not fair to either of us because you have a life and a relationship that should come first." We sat in silence for a moment, both of us processing the weight of what we had acknowledged. "I don't want to lose your friendship," I said finally. "You won't," Tyler assured me, "but maybe we need to redefine what it looks like. Maybe instead of me coming over for elaborate home-cooked meals, we just grab a beer and catch up like normal friends do." "I'd like that," I said, and I meant it. Tyler smiled. "Besides, I've been thinking about settling down myself. There's a woman I've been talking to online, and I think I want to see where that goes. I can't do that if I'm emotionally dependent on my buddy's cooking." After Tyler left, I sat in my kitchen and looked around at the space that had become so important to me. I realized that I had been using cooking as a way to avoid the messy, complicated work of building a real relationship with Emma. It was easier to express love through food than through words, easier to show care through grand gestures than through daily attention. I picked up my phone and called Emma. "Hi," she said when she answered. Her voice was cautious but not cold. "Hi," I replied. "I've been thinking about everything you said. And you were right. About all of it. I haven't been the partner you deserve. I haven't been paying attention to you or your needs. I've been taking you for granted while putting all my energy into someone else." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "What are you going to do about it?" "I talked to Tyler tonight," I said. I explained the situation, and we both agreed that we need to change our friendship. No more elaborate meals, no more playing house, just normal friendship. Really? Really? Emma, I want to start over with you. I want to learn who you are, not who I think you are. I want to ask you about your day and actually listen to the answer. I want to plan surprises for you and make you feel special. I could hear her crying softly on the other end of the line. Alex, I want that too, but I need you to understand that this is going to take time. I can't just forgive and forget overnight. I understand, I said. I'm willing to do the work for as long as it takes. Okay, she said quietly. I'll come home tomorrow and we can start figuring this out together. When Emma came home the next day, I had prepared a simple dinner, nothing fancy, nothing elaborate, just grilled salmon with steamed vegetables and rice. But I had also prepared something more important, a list of questions I wanted to ask her about her life, her feelings, her dreams. As we sat down to eat, I looked across the table at this woman I had been living with for 3 years but had never really known. She was beautiful, but more than that, she was complex and interesting and deserving of my attention. Tell me about your panic attacks, I said gently. When did they start? Emma looked surprised by the question, but she began to talk. And for the first time in our relationship, I really listened to what she had to say. It wasn't easy. Learning to be present for Emma required me to give up the emotional high I got from taking care of Tyler. It required me to do the hard work of building intimacy instead of just performing grand gestures. But it was worth it. 6 months later, Tyler introduced me to his girlfriend, Sarah, a teacher from Ohio who made him laugh and challenged him to be better. Emma got the promotion she had been working toward, and I was there to celebrate with her, because I had finally learned to pay attention to what mattered to her. We postponed our wedding by a year, deciding that we needed to rebuild our relationship from the ground up before we could promise each other forever. But for the first time since we had gotten engaged, I was excited about the prospect of being Emma's husband, not because it was expected, but because I had finally learned to love her the way she deserved to be loved. The kitchen is still my sanctuary, but now I cook for Emma. I ask her what she wants for dinner, and I listen to her answer. I plan special meals for her birthday and our anniversary. I've learned that she actually loves spicy food, she just didn't like feeling like she had to eat whatever I decided to make. And sometimes, when Tyler comes to visit, the 3 of us have dinner together. But it's different now. It's balanced. It's healthy. It's what friendship should look like when you're building a life with someone else. I learned that love isn't about grand gestures or elaborate performances. It's about attention, presence, and the daily choice to put someone else's needs alongside your own. I learned that you can't love someone well if you don't know them well. And I learned that the most important person to cook for is the one who chooses to build a life with you, not the one who just visits it.